Hey everybody, so you're looking at the Nubia X. So if you're watching my channel, you probably have already heard about this phone or seen enough about this phone to know that this phone has a second screen on the back. So I'm not gonna, act like I'm introducing anything new here. So the reason for the second screen, it's to allow you to take selfies of the main camera. You'll need to do that because as you can see, there is no selfie camera on the front of this bezel-less face. So this is basically Nubia's way of avoiding the notch. So we've seen Chinese brands come up with very radical ideas to avoid the notch, including a slider format or a pop-up camera module, and this is probably the craziest way yet. So let's talk displays first. So the one on the front, let's talk displays first. So the one on the front, it's an LCD panel at 1080p resolution, 6.2 inches. It's very nice. Colors are very lively, and let me jump into Instagram stories. So I usually don't mind using a phone with a notch, but when I do use a phone without a notch, I'm reminded, oh yeah, it is a lot more immersive when you don't have a cutout at the top of the screen. Especially when you put it side by side with the iPhone XS Max and then you just see the notch on the left, on the right, it's all clean. So now the screen on the back, it's a 5.1 inch panel with a lower resolution display. It's 720 by 1520. So it's a little bit more than 720p, but as you can see, it still looks pretty lively. Color still comes out very nice. But what's interesting is that the screen on the back, it's an OLED panel, whereas the display on the front, it's an LCD panel. So OLED panels generally have higher contrast, punchier colors, and deeper black. So if you switch back here, the blacks here actually look maybe a little bit better. So now as you already see me done, you swap screens by pressing into the sides of the screen where there are two fingerprint readers actually, and then you just tilt it to the back and it will switch around, and then to switch back, same thing. So I find this movement a little bit awkward. Like if I'm doing this with one hand, again, I think I'm kind of worried of dropping the phone. So I feel like every time I switch, I have to use a second hand to grab it like that. Now the good news is Nubia does give you a very nice case. So you guys know I'm usually not a fan of the free case that comes with phones. They're usually like these really crappy like TPU jelly case. This is like a little harder case and it actually fits into the phone very slim. So now on the back you see it actually protrudes over the screen a little bit. So that means that you put your phone down on the desk, it should offer a little bit of protection because your screen is not always touching the surface. Now the phone will come with a screen protector on the back and the front too, so Nubia has got you covered. In terms of processing power, it's quite the standard setup. You have a Snapdragon 845 with 8 gigs of RAM, and in terms of storage, I believe you have 128 gigs of internal storage. The battery, it's pretty nice, 3,800 milliamp hour battery, so that's a relatively large cell. It should power this thing on all day, especially since we know Chinese phones have really good battery management. So overall, this is a really sexy looking phone. It's very sleek. So now those of you who follow my YouTube channel, you might have seen me post a picture of this phone like a week ago. So the reason I held off making a video for so long is because the China ROM on this phone, it's the most hardcore severe China ROM I've seen yet. So basically I've had no luck installing Google apps on this phone and I've been trying. So I figured I'll wait until I can get Google Apps on there before I proceed with the video. But nope, even to this day, I'm able to download these apps through side-loading APKs, but they do not work because I just cannot get the right Google framework in there. And everything's completely in Chinese, even though I've changed this settings language to English already. This is just a very aggressive Chinese skin that's just totally not meant to be used in China. So I found a loophole in terms of using Google Apps and downloading other apps through the Play Store. That is with this third-party Chinese app called Google Space. And it's really interesting. I've never seen this before until now. So basically, once you go into Google Space, you are able to access your Play Store and download stuff. So you see here, YouTube works, but it has to go through the Google Spaces it's almost like a firewall that they're doing. It's really weird. So I'm not sure how secure this is. It's definitely not like a really good way to use the phone in terms of using Google Apps. It's a very janky version. So I'm really hoping that a software update will fix this and let me finally install Google properly, or like an international ROM, because this is the most aggressive China ROM yet. So we'll do a quick speaker test. So there's obviously only a bottom fine single speaker. But yeah, this is the LCD panel, it's pretty nice. So you see, but the speaker, it's pretty weak. You're able to muffle it just by putting your finger on it. So we'll go max volume. So we'll go 50%. It's a passable speaker. I'm not going to complain considering this phone is so special. And this phone's not that expensive. In China, it's selling for about 3,800 RMB. That's like 450 US, I think. In China, it's selling for 3,800 RMB. So that's like so in China, it's selling for 3,800 RMB. So that's like not even $400. I think it's a little bit under $400. If my math is right, we'll switch to the OLED display. So yeah, you can use the phone totally normally with the screen on the back. Speaking of that, Nubia has introduced some settings with the second screen. So they're basically treating this like you can use this as an e-reader. So you switch it to super, then it almost become like a black and white monochrome screen. So this is kind of like you know, if you're using a Kindle, this will supposedly easy on your eyes. This is one of Nubia's gimmicks. They're advertising like eye health, eye safety for this. I'm not sure how much I will be using this because the 5.1-inch display, it's a little bit small for me. After, you know, everybody's used to 6.2, 6.3 inches now. As you can see, there's swipe navigation. So you swipe from the middle to go home, swipe up and hold to bring up Apple Review, swipe from the sides to go back. So even though this display on the back, it's a little bit smaller and, you know, always gets pressed onto the table and stuff, I haven't seen any sensitivity issues. It works pretty well. So another use of the second screen is when your phone it's in sleep mode. This basically becomes an always-on display. But from what I've seen so far, this always-on display only shows you the time and the date, battery percentage, and first-party notification. So if you get a WhatsApp message or an Instagram message, it's not going to show up on here. There is no third-party notifications for the always-on display, which, you know, sucks. So as mentioned, there's a fingerprint reader on each side of the phone, so you are able to register 2 different fingers to use, or just, you know, register 1 finger on both sides. I have the left one and it works pretty well. Not as fast as like the fastest reader out there. There's like a split-second pause, but it's fine, it works. Okay, let's talk about the camera really quick. So you have a main 24 megapixel lens with a secondary 16 megapixel depth sensor. I haven't seen that it does much of anything. So you guys remember when I reviewed the Nubia Red Magic, I said the camera had this really weird cropped in focal length, and it's the same thing here. So check this out. I'm gonna open the camera app on the Huawei Mate 20 Pro on my left, and look at how much closer the Nubia X is. Now, I'm not zoomed in on this phone. This is, from what I understand, yeah, this is the normal viewfinder. So this is just a really odd focal length. It's really cropped in, it's really close. So a lot of times I want to take a picture of a plate of food, or a person, or a building. I find that I just have to back up. I have to like literally get up off my seat in a restaurant and step back 3 feet just to take a picture, because this is really weirdly zoomed in. So now in terms of camera performance, it's really solid. I guess for this price range, under $400, I'm not going to complain, but this camera definitely cannot compare to a Huawei Mate 20 Pro or iPhone XS Max or even a OnePlus 6T. Just in general, when you're taking pictures at night, it will almost always overexpose on the light, and then if I try to adjust exposure in the viewfinder, then the scene usually gets too dim. It's just very hard to find the right balance in terms of exposure with this camera. It really struggles with dealing with lights at night. But you know, overall I would say the camera is solid. Like, I can't say these photos are great, but you know, no real complaints. So you notice that at night, the shutter speed is also very slow because the camera is just really trying to compensate to pull in more lighting. So that means if I take photos in Hong Kong with moving cars, it's almost always going to be very, very blurry just because the shutter speed, it's so slow. But if you take photos in the day, it's a lot better. So overall, it's a camera that, you know, I'm not going to rave about, but not bad, no complaints. And you know, obviously, this is also your selfie camera. So yeah, apologies for having my face that wide, but yeah, selfie camera is a little bit weird. It's a little bit soft. There's a very aggressive beauty mode that you can luckily turn off. But definitely, I would not recommend buying this phone for the camera, but nobody will. Everybody who's buying this phone is buying it for this awesome second screen that's just, pretty stunning, and the kind of almost completely bezel-less design. So that's it for now. I'm gonna have more videos on this phone once I'm able to get Google Apps in there. As of now, if you're thinking of importing it, I would say hold off. Wait until Nubia introduces either an international software or at least improves its China ROM so that you can download Google Apps. Because, I use a lot of phones with Chinese ROM, like the Oppo Find X when I first got it, or the Honor Magic 2, and I'm still able to sideload Google Apps. But this phone, it's borderline impossible. So that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Bruh.